now we're going to move on to the entrepreneur spotlight / interview portion of today. So today we'd like to welcome two awesome entrepreneurs. First we have Ola Summers. She is the owner of Barra Legacies, which is a financial services company. And then we also have Michael Wesley. He is the owner of Urbane Communities, which is a real estate development and investment firm. So Ryan's going to ask them some questions, and we'll hear their stories and how they got to where they are.
Thanks, Claudia. Thanks, Claudia. Thanks, Ola and Michael, for being here. So the first question is, could you briefly tell us about your business and then what led you to start it? And so since, Michael, you're closer to me, I'm going to pass the mic to you first.
Okay.
Try to put that thing on you.
Gotcha. Well, good morning, everybody. Once again, my name is Michael Wesley. I'm the founder and president of Urbane Communities, which is a real estate investment and development firm. We focus on a number of things. We focus on wholesaling. We focus on fix and flips, acquisitions, and then we focus on new construction and redevelopment of buildings, so repurposing them into either apartment homes or mixed-use buildings or whatever that looks like. For me, I've been interested in real estate since I was little. I was always one of the kids who got excited about building stuff and seeing new things being built up. So I knew it was a passion of mine. When I was 20 years old, a friend of mine actually had started buying properties. He was 23, a little older than me. He was more of a mature 23. I went to the military and things of that nature. And we were driving back from a Black Student Union conference when I was in college. And I was telling him how I was looking for a new place to rent. My lease was coming up. And he said to me, why are you looking for somewhere to rent? And I was like, well, I need somewhere to live. And he was like, well, if you're going to rent for me. Otherwise, you should buy. And at 20, it hadn't even crossed my mind about buying homes at that time. And so I did. I bought a duplex on 30th and Concordia, and then bought another one on Keith and Port Washington, and then bought another one on 10th and Burleigh, and just kind of kept going from there. So that's how I kind of got my start. Real estate has always been, like I said, a passion of mine. I still get excited about looking at new homes. I'll randomly go to open houses on Saturdays just to look at homes. So I just love everything about real estate and residential properties and buying new homes, and building up, repurposing old buildings into new things. So that's kind of my story about how I got started.
Good morning, everyone. As Claudia said, my name is Ola Summers, but my full name is Omarin Sola, but we say Ola for short. And me and my husband, we run Barra Legacies, which is the financial service agency. We're located off of 76 and Center Street. And we help people with their health insurance, their life insurance, credit services, as well as tax services. I've been in the business for 11 years. I actually got started in church. So I had just graduated from UWM. And I was at a prayer meeting, and so one of the ladies at the meeting was kind of asking me what my next 5-year goals were. So I told her that I eventually wanted to go back to school. And then she's like, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to own a business. And she's like, what kind of business do you want to own? I said, one where I make a lot of money. And then she said, okay, well, you still need to figure out what kind of business that's going to be. And she said, I have an opportunity for you. And I said, okay, what kind of opportunity do you have for me? So we went to Chicago, Illinois, and they were hosting a life and financial service meeting. And so at that time, it was just the life insurance piece. And I never saw myself as a salesperson. And so when I was listening to the opportunity, I was kind of like, I don't really know if this is for me, but I always had a desire to help people. And so they said, well, just see if it is something that you may want to do. So I took the life insurance exam, I passed it. And then from there, I just started to expand my knowledge in a different financial service industry. And then when me and my husband got married, we've been married for 4 years, we just combined it, like all of the different services, so we could kind of be a one-stop shop.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about business plans, right? Maybe you wrote a business plan when you started, maybe you wrote a business plan on a property, something to that degree. Tell us about writing a business plan for you, and then how you use that as a tool. Did you use it for yourself? Did you use it for advisors? Did you use it to get financing? Those kind of things.
Sure. So I always feel like, okay, here we go, got it. I always feel like real estate is kind of a unique business in itself. A lot of the financing mechanisms that I've used have been non-traditional in order to get money to purchase homes or to rehab buildings or anything like that. So I've wrote a business plan before, but in the recent years I've actually focused more on a business model canvas, which to me, for my business in particular, it's a little more free-flowing for me. Every property I try to develop or go after, I look at it as like a new business opportunity, a new business plan. So I use the business model canvas because it's to me it's a document that allows you a lot of flexibility. If I'm talking to people in the community about what they want to see here, then I can go back to my business model plan and add, okay, the stakeholders of the community said they wanted to see a grocery store, or they want to see this, or they want to see that. So it allows me to constantly update it, and then I can then take that and talk to investors and tell them what I'm seeing and what opportunities are out there. So I've been using the business model canvas as a mechanism for myself. But you know, if you're going after some more traditional financing, a lot of times banks want to see a business plan, you know, that has projections and things of that nature. But just because I go after non-traditional financing, the business model canvas has worked good for me.
So for us, I wouldn't say that we do business planning, but we do goal and vision building. So with our business, it's kind of like in different seasons. So as you kind of know, like health insurance season is coming up now. So we actually create some type of goal. How many clients do we need to retain, you know, for this particular season? And another thing that has helped us in our business is we do the SWOT analysis. So we look at our strengths, we look at our weaknesses, we look at our opportunities and our threats within the business overall. So that has been really essential with helping us to kind of stay ahead of the game so that we know what we're doing, because with our business, you know, living off a commission and then having children too, you got to always make sure that you know how much is coming in and how much is going out.
So the next question is going to be a little bit more, Ola, about what you were talking about. When you are planning strategy, how far out are you looking? Like, are you looking out today, tomorrow, 3 months from now, a year from now? How do you do that?
So for the way that we usually plan is that we do our business in quarters. And so we always look at the beginning of the year, what do we want to do overall for the year? And then when we're in our first quarter, we go back and we say, okay, did we reach the goal that we said we wanted to reach for the first quarter? And if we didn't, then we have to readjust and try to figure out, okay, where did we fail, you know? And then what we also do too is me and my husband, we have monthly meetings as well. So at the beginning of the month, we kind of sit down and we look and we say, okay, what is it that we need to do? What are you doing? What am I doing? Because he has strengths in certain areas of the business, because I'm more like the administrative side and he's more out in the community, marketing, doing the prospecting. And so we plan out for about a year when we're doing our planning for our business. And then we just make sure that we're adjusting every quarter and then having those monthly meetings as well.
Yeah, I would say my strategy is very similar to what Ola described. And then with real estate, the market a lot of times dictates what you're going to pursue at that time. So, and for instance, right now, if you're trying to do a fix and flip, it's a great time for it because the product is low, but the demand is high. So if you're able to get a property, get it fix and flip, you know, there's some friends of mine have made, you know, over $25,000 more than what they've listed the property for. So a lot of times with real estate, the market really can determine your exit strategy or the route you're going to take. When I bought my first duplex, it was a seller's market. So everything that was on the market was going to be full price. You know, it wasn't a lot of negotiating. It was a good market for sellers and not the best market for buyers. So sometimes real estate just kind of dictates how your strategy is going to fluctuate. But, you know, in my business, you just have to have a couple exit strategies when you buy a property. So, you know, you might decide to hold it, or you're going to fix and flip it, or you're going to, you know, wholesale it to another investor. So sometimes the market kind of dictates that too.
Thank you so much. The next question is, we talked today about you being different, right? That's what's on the slide kind of behind us right how are you making your business different than, saying, the other service providers, the other people that do what you do? Let's start with that question.
Sure. So I don't know, many people might not know, but my business was really originally wholesaling, flipping, and fixing, but I moved into real estate development maybe a couple of years ago. And so in 2015, I went through a program called ACRE, which introduces women and minorities to the real estate development process. And from that, a gentleman in my class named Q. Amin and myself, and then another partner of mine named Rahenia Boynes, we pursued a large project in Milwaukee. A lot of people was like, "This is crazy. Are y'all really doing this?" So there was a old Briggs and Stratton building on 32nd to Center Street that we got under contract and positioned it to redevelop it into affordable housing. So right now, actually, it's been 4 years in the making. We finally purchased the building on May. We're closing on financing next month, hopefully, fingers crossed. But we'll be redeveloping it to 197 units of affordable housing. And for us, when people think about affordable housing, they think of low income, they think, oh, it's going to be a bunch of problems, you're bringing a different element into the area, whatever the case may be. So, we wanted to set ourselves apart different on the market by making affordable housing really a holistic community. So within our project, you'll have a daycare on site, you'll have a laundromat on site. We're doing a small food hall where we're encouraging either startups or people who just want to test out a brick and mortar opportunity to be tenants on there. So if anyone in here is into food or anything like that, talk to me. We can maybe figure out what we can do for you there. My partner Q and his brother run a program called Yes, which teaches young people STEAM programming. So we've been working with Best Buy and a number of other companies to get laptops and things donated on site, so our youth will have access to computer labs. My other partner Ray is a musician by trade, so he's going to be running a program on site that teaches people how to do music production, how to do, how to write music, how to engineer music, dancing and all visual arts, photography. We're partnering with the Center Street Bid for them to have a site. So long story short, we're just trying to make affordable housing very holistic and really change the stigma of what affordable housing is. And so I think that's where we're kind of standing out in the marketplace. There's a few other developers across the country that are using what's called affordable or luxury affordable housing. So really still making it stand out, having high amenities and making it be somewhere that someone will be proud to live. So that's what we really want to do. When someone is comfortable about where they're living, it's just better for your health, and we all know about all those things that come with having houses. So for us down in the marketplace, it's really making affordable housing a holistic thing and a really attractive place to want to live.
So when I started in the life and financial service industry, I started working with federal employees. And so what we did is the company we were with, they had a payroll slot with the federal government. So we were actually able to go into VA hospitals and meet with employees, talking to them about their retirement, talk to them about life insurance. And so as Michael said, markets can change. So that market kind of dried up. And so it was like reinventing the wheel to try to figure out, okay, how can we still get our stuff out there to be, marketable? And so we started to realize that a lot of people in the community didn't know about life and financial services because nobody was teaching them about it. And so what we position ourselves for now is we actually do that education piece. So not only do you just sit down and meet with us about, possibly purchasing life insurance, but we're actually educating you about the different types of life insurances. And then we're also talking to you about credit to see, okay, well, where is your credit at? Because a lot of times when we deal with clients in the community, they're only keeping these policies for maybe 1 to 2 years because their finances aren't in order. And we're like, no, we don't want you to start something. We want you to be able to keep it. So we talk to them about that. And then we also talk to them about health insurance too, because in our communities, a lot of people don't understand deductibles, co-insurance, co-payments. So we come from that educational standpoint where we're not just going to sell you a product, we're actually going to explain the product to you. So we try to do a lot of family meetings too. So where if we have one client that wants to get a policy on themselves, we're like, hey, well, let's meet with your parents, let's meet with your grandparents. grandparents, let's meet with your siblings, so that everybody in the family is covered, so that we don't have to keep falling into this whole GoFundMe and different things like that, as you know, many of you may see. And so we come from the educational standpoint where we actually want people to understand the importance of having your finances in order.
Thank you so much. Mikhail, that project you're working on is awesome. I mean, it is like mind-blowing. I hope, if you guys don't know about that project, my hope for all of you is that at some point in your entrepreneurial life, you hit something like that. I mean, it's that cool. All right, this question is really good, so I'm going to read it right from the page. Can you talk a bit about how you have avoided the mistake made by entrepreneurs of trying to be all things to all people when it comes to the market and customers?
All things to all people. So I would say that what I've recently realized within like probably the past 2 years is that everybody isn't my client. When I first started out, I would just, if somebody would come to me and they would need services, I'd be like, okay, yeah, I can help you. But then I was realizing a lot of the frustrations that I was falling into with people that, you know how you kind of get a gut feeling that you shouldn't work with somebody, but you still want to work with them anyways because either you want the money or you just like to help people. And that's kind of where I was falling into. And so within the last 2 years, I just kind of realize, you know, I can turn business down. I'm at that place now where I don't want the extra headache with dealing with a client that isn't really, you know, my client. And then also in our business, what we realize is that we do offer a lot of services. And so what we have to figure out, or what we figured out, is that we understand the peaks of our business. So with November being open enrollment for health insurance, well, that's my main focus. So it's not that I'm not going to write somebody life insurance if they need life insurance in that season, but it's, okay, this is my main focus, so I may have to circle back around to you, you know, after December 15th, because I started getting too tired with trying to do everything at that time. So I would just say that you just have to realize what you can do in that moment, and if you tell people up front, then they respect you more instead of on the back end, you know, not being, you know, not having that integrity to let them know, you know, this is just wouldn't be a good partnership, or I can't help you at this moment. So just being honest and having that integrity and knowing what you should and shouldn't do when you get that gut feeling.
Yeah, very similar. I think too, often in business, like when I started my business, I wanted to be a one-stop firm for everything. So eventually, you know, in the future, I would love to expand and offer construction services and things of that nature. But a lot of times, we teach, I work with other accelerators that work with entrepreneurs, and we tell them sometimes the market will tell you what you need to be doing. That is true. But at the same time, it can stretch yourself really thin. So I had a period of time where a lot of people were reaching out to me about property management. And property management is a great business to get into, but it's a lot that comes with that. You're dealing with people all the time. I get calls, you know, 3 in the morning. You know, my gas, it smells like gas in my house, and I got to go figure out what's going on with that. And then I had a tenant who had a boyfriend who was on a restraining order, and he was in the house somehow, and then he fell off the back porch, and now it's like, okay, I got to figure that out. So the property management, while it was a business that was, you know, as far as getting a lot of business, it just came with a lot of different headaches, and it was taking my focus away from what my ultimate goal was. And I think in business, you have to always keep that in mind, what your ultimate goal is, what you really, really want to do. Because you're going to get a lot of different opportunities, and if that opportunity is not really, you know, funding or feeding what you really want to do, you might have to take a step back and decide if that's something you want to keep doing. And I decided that property management just wasn't an integral part of what I ultimately wanted to do. I would work with those people in those professions that do that all the time, and that for me, that's just the best thing for my business, was just to outsource that. It might cut into my profit a little bit, but I'm not dealing with 3 a.m. calls. I'm not dealing with all that stuff, you know, the evictions. Property managers that do that for me. So you just have to understand sometimes you can't be everything to everybody in your business.
So last question, and then you all can ask them questions, okay? So think of some questions to ask them. This is kind of the, if I knew then what I know now kind of question, right? So that advice for people starting, launching, growing their business, what are a couple thoughts? Well, you've got like 20 thoughts in your head, I think, right now, right? Right, so, Michaela, I'll let you either go first or pass the mic. All right.
Well, I can say for one thing, and this is particularly in my business, when I first started, I put a lot of trust in other people to really guide me, and that was a mistake. I think you definitely have to trust people, but you have to know what's going on too. Because I can't just rely on you to tell me everything, and then I'm just like, okay, because business is cutthroat. A lot of times people don't have your best interests at heart. So my first duplex I bought that I referenced on 30th and Concordia, I just was really like, they were like, hey, you don't have to get an inspection, but you should, but you don't have to. And so I'm 20 years old. I'm a college student. I probably got about $300 or $400 to my name in a good month, So I'm like, well, if I don't have to pay for it, I'm not going to pay for it. And so that was a mistake. The house I bought was being rehabbed. Once we put the offer in on it, since there was no inspection done, they just stopped the work. So once I closed on the house, I come in there and I try to turn on the kitchen sink, and I'm like, what's going on? No plumbing underneath the thing. I'm like, okay. No hot water heater in the house. It was a duplex, and they only had one circuit breaker, so they had jumped it. You know what I'm saying? They had one circuit breaker that was working, so they jumped it, so everything was working off one circuit breaker. So it was all this extra work that I had to do, and the people that were advising me gave me bad advice. But I didn't take it upon myself to understand what an inspection was and how critical it was in purchasing a home. The appraisal, you have to get that. Okay, I have to get the appraisal. The inspection was an option. You tell a 20-year-old who don't got a lot of money, I'm like, okay, I ain't doing that. And so that backfired on me, and it caused, extra cost. So I guess my advice would be to make sure you understand your business. Be as much of an expert in your business as possible. Even if you're working with people, even if you're trusting other folks, and they're telling you things, you have to know what they're telling you is real. So, be as much of an expert as you can, but also don't let learning as much as you can about your business stop you from jumping into it. A lot of time, experience is the best teacher too. So for me, that was a great teaching experience for me to understand, okay, I know moving forward, especially if I'm dealing with properties that need to be fixed up and things of that nature, we need to make sure that we are inspecting things and going about things the right way. So
I do have a lot of thoughts about if I knew then what I knew now. So I would say the first thing with entrepreneurship is that it's a beautiful journey. But I think one of the things that me and my husband have found out is that if you're going to do entrepreneurship, you really want your business to operate as a business. When we first got married, it was difficult because I was so used to bringing work home. And he's just like, you need to turn that computer off, And so we had to figure out how we both weren't able to bring work home. And then how when you have your hours at work, stick to them. Because it would be many times where I would say, okay, my office hours are from like 9 to 5. But then if somebody called me at 5:01, then I'm still taking a call. That could possibly lead me to 6 o'clock. So you have to stay true to what you say. And then also, every opportunity is not an opportunity that you should take on. It was many people that would come to us and they would say, hey, well, you guys would be a good fit for this, or you could be a good fit for that, or we could, develop this partnership. But then with partnerships, well, how much of the work am I really doing? Am I doing 80% of the work while you're only doing 20%? Is this a 50-50 partnership? So making sure that you really have the details when you begin to partner with people, because it was some partnerships that we entered in that actually didn't propel us forward. They made us go all the way back. And so those were some of the things that I wish we wouldn't have done, but it was experience, so it definitely was a good teacher. So those would just be my words of advice.
Awesome. Questions from you?
How did you get started? Because you said you were young. Did you have private investors, or how did you get your first property?
no, so I didn't know too much. I had good credit somehow. Didn't do anything to have it. I just had some decent credit. At the time when I bought the house,
But you had a down payment?
No, I didn't have to. This was in 2005. So if you know anything about the market in 2005, they were pretty much handing out mortgages. And I had an arms mortgage. This is once again not knowing, right? So I didn't know what an arms mortgage was. I was like, y'all really gonna give me a house? How much I gotta put down? 200? Bet, so I did. I don't think I only put down like $200 on the duplex, but I had an arms mortgage, and what I didn't know is that it was going to adjust after a certain time period. So I had tenants living downstairs that was paying me rent, and their rent was covering my mortgage, and I was making maybe $200 a month, and then within 2 years that mortgage ballooned, and it caused me a lot of problems. I also didn't understand having, rolling your taxes into your payments and things of that nature. So I got a tax bill at the end of the year. So I would say, my first experience in the real estate probably wasn't successful at all, actually. But it taught me a lot, And so sometimes at that time when I was 20 years old, I felt real comfortable just leaping in and doing things. I'm like, if I fail, I'm young enough to recover. I'm 36 now, so I don't think the same way as far as failing and recovering. So I'm a lot more meticulous about those things. But yeah, at that time, I just had, good credit, and the market was just way different. Now there's a lot more things you have to do to be able to purchase a home. You have to have a certain percentage down and things of that nature. But at the time when they had those arms mortgages, they were just pretty much handing them out. And when that mortgage payment ballooned, I was like, what is this? So I learned a lot from that.
But you had a job?
Yeah, I had a job. Yeah, I had a job, but I was a college student, so I was maybe working 20, 25 hours a week. So it wasn't, a significant amount of money. But I think just because I had the credit, and then my house that I bought was, at the time, was like $55,000, so it wasn't a lot of money. I think a lot of those things kind of factored into me getting the mortgage. But once again, at 20, I wasn't asking a lot of questions, so when they said you're approved, I'm like, okay. So just a lot of learning from those first couple properties.
So I'm familiar with your project because it's near the project I'm working on for the community. But do you guys have a prospective day or date that'll be complete?
Sure. So right now we're closing on financing. So we purchased the building. We partnered with a group out of Minnesota. They had the financial balance sheet. So we were able to purchase the building. So we've owned it since May. But we'll be closing on construction financing hopefully next month. We got some gaps in financing we're still working on, but some promising things. And if that happens, then we'll start construction this either probably in December with an anticipated opening date of March of 2022. So this is such a large project, as we build, we get 40 or 50 units open. They're done, we open them up. So we will always be leasing and opening things up, but the official grand opening will be March of 2022 when it'll all be done, hopefully.
You guys own a technology spot too in that building?
So there's a space in there that we will be using for technology.
No, I'm saying it's a business that's on center.
Mm-hmm.
That was technology something.
Oh, no. There were a few, so when we bought it, there were a few businesses that were in there that have since moved out. But no, we don't own it.
What's the location, center?
32nd and Center. So it's right across the street from the master lot. It's that old factory that sits there. So we're really from the train tracks to 33rd, from Center to Hadley Street.
Mikhail, does that project have a name?
Yes, a community within the corridor.
Okay.
I'm going to open a nursing home, and the facilities that I've been looking at that are available through the older woman or whoever, they're in disrepair, or they're just not a good fit for what I'm looking for. Are you doing developing or building from the ground construction? Are you able to do that while you're also working on your project? Are you someone that I would speak to as far as having a nursing home built or developed?
Yeah, me and my group are working on what you would call ground up construction as well. I think our focus has been redeveloping existing buildings, but my partner Q is doing a new development project on 37th and Villard right now. That was a project in our acre class. In our acre program, we each had to do a project, and so his group actually took the project that they were doing for class and made it a real deal. And so they're building from ground up an apartment building with some commercial space on the first floor. So that is something that we can work with you on. We can work on, now on the nursing home part, we will leave that expertise to you. So what we will bring in is just the financing, the ability to get the financing to be able to complete the purchase of the building, and then to finance the actual construction and those pieces. The nursing home piece, we have no expertise in, and so that's how that partnership would work if we were to do something like that.
What advice do you guys have for entrepreneurs who are, like for instance, trying to get into real estate or wanting to open up an insurance company or stuff, and we are like maybe afraid of the outcome or holding ourselves back of all the possibilities of what could go wrong? What are your advice for them?
I would say mentorship. So definitely connect with somebody in that industry where you're thinking about possibly opening a business, because one of the blessings with me was someone took me under their wing. So she had already had 10 years experience in the business that I was in. So she was able to kind of tell me the do's and the don'ts, how to set goals, how to do appointments and everything like that. And so even though I still was doing it afraid, I was able to have somebody there that was pinpointing me in the right direction. So I would say connect with somebody that could mentor you in that area.
Yeah, I would agree as well. When I first started showing interest in development outside of going through Acre, I spoke with Kaylin Haywood, who's a developer in the city, and Kaylin just gave me a lot of different gems on things to look out for. So mentorship is definitely something you should do. Also, recommend partnerships. A lot of times, and to Ola's point, you have to really understand how this partnership is going to work. But partnerships can be very beneficial. There's no way we would have been able to do this project on Center Street without the partners that we have at the table. And we were very intentional of getting in front of the alderman first and getting his buy-in. So when we started asking the city for money, we got an advocate at the table who was like, yep, y'all need to be supporting them. When we start asking WIDA for investment in tax credits, they're going to talk to the alderman and say, do you support this project? So, we reached out to him first, and then just other stakeholders in the community. We were just very intentional about having the right partnerships, because otherwise there's no way we would have been able to get this project done.
And just a follow-up, when you're new to the business, how do you get people to trust you and to say, okay, come under my partnership with me, or come here and let me mentor you, and you don't have any experience?
Could you repeat what you said?
Oh, yeah, she asked about when you're new to the business, how do you get people to trust you and to want to work with you? I think for me, it's just been our passion. We're very passionate about what we're doing. And then we're also, even though we don't have the expertise, we have the knowledge. So we've spent time really understanding how this works. So when I'm talking to someone about real estate, they can see that I have some expertise in the field, I have some knowledge in the field. So, and then mix that with my passion and what I'm really trying to do, and my story about why we're trying to do this. It allows people sometimes to say, okay, you know what, I'll take a chance on these guys and see what we can do. You also have to understand, like, especially in my business development, what we've learned over these past 4 years is we have more leverage than we thought too. We have a lot more political capital than we thought. And so when we partner with our partners out of Minnesota, even though they brought the finance and the capital to the deal, we brought a lot of political connections. We brought a lot of community stakeholders. So we had our value add was just as great as having the capital behind it. So sometimes if you can really identify what your value add is too, that helps with people wanting to partner with you and seeing what you can do.